Welcome back to the cryptowrld channel, everyone. My name is Josh, and right now this rare signal is flashing on the Bitcoin chart that we need to pay attention to, as Tether just printed $1 billion USDT, while this short-term signal is still playing out on the price of Bitcoin. So I'll be talking about that in just a moment, alongside Ethereum and Solana also playing out the same short-term bullish signal. So I'll be talking about all of that and more later in the video, so definitely watch to the end. First of all, just giving you a quick update on the Bitcoin ETF news today, and just yesterday we saw a very small net outflow. Pretty much this is almost no news at all, because yesterday we only saw a net outflow of around $4 million, which when we're talking about the Bitcoin ETFs, $4 million is basically nothing. And so getting into the next Bitcoin news today, of course, we have the Bitcoin halving less than 1 day away. From the time of recording this video, there's only around 12 hours to go until the Bitcoin halving, which, by the way, only comes once every 4 years and is extremely bullish for Bitcoin, fundamentally speaking. And now it's important to understand that just because the Bitcoin halving happens in around 12 hours from the time of recording this video, it does not necessarily mean that we're going to see a massive bullish move right on the Bitcoin halving, because basically the Bitcoin halving usually takes a while to really start impacting the price of Bitcoin. It usually starts really impacting the price of Bitcoin over the next few months or so, because basically, in case you're new to all of this, the Bitcoin halving reduces the amount of Bitcoin that the miners can actually mine. The Bitcoin miners can actually mine new Bitcoin, and because the Bitcoin miners have a lot of expenses to handle, like for example paying for electricity or paying for new mining hardware, basically the Bitcoin miners usually end up selling a lot of the Bitcoin that they actually mine in order to pay for those costs, which basically means Bitcoin miners are usually net sellers. They're usually just selling the Bitcoin that they're mining. But once again, the Bitcoin halving means the miners are getting less Bitcoin for every block that they're mining, which basically means the Bitcoin miners have less Bitcoin to sell. And so essentially the Bitcoin halving significantly reduces sell pressure, which basically means Bitcoin becomes more scarce as time goes on, and that is bullish for the price. If it's harder to obtain Bitcoin, then it's usually going to be more valuable, and that goes for basically any asset. And if we're taking a look at the Bitcoin halvings throughout Bitcoin's history and their impact on the price of Bitcoin here on the monthly time frame, so each one of these candles is an entire month. We saw the first Bitcoin halving happen back in 2012. Over the next 1 year or so, we saw a massive bull run almost straight to the upside in the price of Bitcoin. And then we saw the second halving around mid-2016, and then we saw a massive bull run over the next 1 year approximately in the price of Bitcoin. The same thing for the third halving. The third halving happened around May 2020, and then we saw a massive bull run over the next 1 year approximately in the price of Bitcoin. And once again, within the next 1 day, just a matter of hours away, we have the fourth Bitcoin halving taking place. And so based on Bitcoin's history and based on the fundamental nature of the Bitcoin halving and what it actually does for the Bitcoin price, it's extremely likely that we're going to see a major bullish market over the next 1 year approximately as the most likely outcome. But obviously a bullish market doesn't mean only bullish price action. A bullish market can contain short-term pullbacks here and there. And so just keep that in mind. Obviously on smaller time frames, we can see short-term bearish price action, but when we're zooming out looking at the bigger picture, we're still within a larger bull market. And taking a look at some other crypto news today, Tether just printed $1 billion USDT. And this is extremely bullish for Bitcoin and crypto, because basically this means there's an increasing demand coming into the crypto ecosystem, because essentially what Tether did here was replenish their reserves. They didn't just print this out of thin air and release it into circulation without anything backing it. But what they did do is print this and basically have it in their reserves ready to go. And basically when large investors, for example, send actual US dollars to Tether, then Tether has this USDT ready to go to send over to those investors once Tether actually receives the actual US dollars in their bank. And so just for example, let's just say you had $1 billion US dollars. If you sent $1 billion US dollars in a wire to Tether's bank account, basically they can send that 1 billion USDT to your crypto wallet. And so essentially, this is kind of like a giant on-ramp from fiat currency, from the banking system, coming into crypto. And so essentially, it's a boost in liquidity inside the crypto ecosystem, and anytime where we're boosting liquidity, that is bullish for Bitcoin and crypto. And we can actually see this on this chart right here. This is looking at the Bitcoin chart on the 3-day time frame, and this green line right here is the USDT market cap. And so because 1 USDT is always equal to $1, if the USDT market cap is increasing, that basically means the supply of USDT is increasing. In other words, Tether is printing new USDT, which means there's more money coming into Tether from outside of the crypto ecosystem. And we can see back in 2022, when the USDT market cap was decreasing, we actually saw a lot of bearish price action back then for Bitcoin and crypto because liquidity was drying up in the crypto market rapidly. But as soon as 2023 came around, we saw a massive boost in USDT and stablecoins and overall liquidity, which boosted Bitcoin and crypto to the upside. And then it somewhat plateaued around the middle of 2023. And then during the end of 2023 and going into 2024, we've seen another massive surge in liquidity. But these areas on the chart where I've circled here in the Bitcoin price, these are times where we've actually seen kind of the two move in opposite directions. So basically the price of Bitcoin either going to the downside or kind of going sideways while liquidity or USDT market cap is rapidly increasing. And basically all of these times happened after some sort of short-term pullback within the larger bull market. And what came next with the USDT market cap rapidly increasing, ultimately the Bitcoin price caught up later on. And so obviously over the last 1 to 2 weeks or so, we have seen a pullback in the price of Bitcoin in the somewhat shorter term. But while this has been happening, the USDT market cap and the liquidity is still increasing quite rapidly. And once again, just a few hours ago, we saw Tether print another billion USDT, adding to that market cap. And throughout Bitcoin's history, we can see that basically always the price of Bitcoin eventually catches up to that USDT market cap, and we can see where the USDT market cap is heading right now. And so just keep that in mind. This is potentially a major bullish signal that doesn't come around very often. And also keep in mind, despite short-term pullbacks, this is still very normal price action that we even see during a bull market. Because during this very bull market that we've seen since the beginning of 2023, we've had multiple pullbacks along the way of roughly around 20%, give or take. And this latest pullback, at least as of right now, from the all-time high to the lowest point, was around a 19% pullback from high to low. And so basically, once you start seeing the price of Bitcoin down 10, 15, 20, 25% from the local high during a bull market, basically not financial advice, but you should probably be thinking this is a decent buying opportunity for Bitcoin, at least while we're in a bull market. Once again, this is very normal price action, and those pullbacks where we're seeing around a 20% pullback are great buying opportunities, historically speaking. Once again, not financial advice. And if we're taking a look at the daily Bitcoin chart, looking at the DXY, over the last couple of days, we've actually seen a small pullback. This DXY is no longer spiking rapidly to the upside like what we saw roughly around a week ago. And so, like I said, around 1 to 2 weeks ago, when this DXY was spiking to the upside, that was an extremely bearish signal, a massive warning signal for Bitcoin and crypto. But if we no longer spike to the upside here in the DXY, and if we actually continue this pullback back to the downside in the DXY, that can be seen as a bullish signal for Bitcoin and crypto. Because historically speaking, when the DXY is bearish, that is usually very bullish for Bitcoin and crypto, and vice versa. And taking a look at this daily Bitcoin chart, we can see over the last 1 to 2 days or so, we've seen a massive bounce from this critical area of support, still sitting in between around 61,000 to 62,000. And so obviously this is an important area of support that I've been talking about over and over again here on the channel. So until we actually break below that support, that is the area to pay attention to, where there's a lot of demand for Bitcoin. And so that's the area of support to pay attention to. And as for some short-term resistance, we could find some resistance around this line, which is sitting at roughly around 68,000. And basically, if we break out above $68,000, that means this break to the downside and that bearish price target will become completely invalidated. And if we're zooming into the shorter term, looking at the 4-hour time frame, right now the price of Bitcoin is still playing out this bullish divergence pattern, which I've been talking about over the last couple of days. First of all, around 2 days ago, all the way down here, I was talking about this bullish divergence, how it's possibly forming, but 2 days ago, it was still needed to be confirmed. And then in my last video here on the channel, I said that yes, this is now confirmed. And I said in real time over on my Twitter, this bullish divergence is now confirmed. And so like like I said yesterday, this means we're most likely going to see either a bullish relief in the short term or choppy sideways price action as the most likely outcomes, at least over the next few days. And so far, over the last one day, this is exactly what we've been seeing, exactly as expected. Obviously, we saw that choppy move to the downside and then back to the upside, basically choppy sideways price action right here. And at the time of recording this video, we're continuing this bullish relief in the short term into this area of resistance in between around 65 to 66,000. But if we start breaking out back above around $66,000, then in that case, the next short-term resistance is in between around 68 to 69,000, and above that we have significant resistance at 71,500 and more resistance in between 73 to 74,000. And so once again, like I said yesterday, I continue to expect this bullish divergence to continue to play out at least over the next few days or so. And if you want to trade these moves in the price of Bitcoin or any other crypto, personally, I trade those moves over on Bybit, so I'll make sure to leave a link to Bybit in the description down below and in the pinned comment. And if you use that link down below this video to make a Bybit account and deposit on that account, you can get up to a $30,000 deposit bonus, but only if you use that link down below this video. And also, if you use that link, it'll take you to this page right here where you can claim an exclusive 200 USDT airdrop position. And so if you're going to be trading crypto anyway, you might as well check this out. Once again, first link down below this video. But for whatever reason, if you cannot access Bybit or if you cannot KYC on Bybit, there is also Bitflex, which is another crypto exchange similar to Bybit, but you don't need KYC for Bitflex. And so I will also make sure to leave a link to Bitflex down below this video as an alternative crypto exchange. And if we're taking a quick look at the Bitcoin liquidation heat map, we can see over the last one day, we exactly took out all of that liquidity as expected, which was sitting just underneath 65,000, as I mentioned in my last video. And so now if we're zooming out on this Bitcoin liquidation heat map, taking a look at some other areas of liquidity to pay attention to, we have some liquidity which we've just hit just above 65,000, and the next areas of liquidity to the upside are sitting at around 67,000 to 67.3k, and above that we have more liquidity at around 68,500. And so at least in the short term, those are some potential price targets to pay attention to, because usually the price of Bitcoin moves towards where there's a lot of liquidity. And also over the last one day and potentially moving forward here in the short term, if we start breaking out well above 65,000, then that could potentially start a major short squeeze. And that's potentially what we saw just recently with this spike to the upside in the price of Bitcoin. That was potentially a bit of a short squeeze, because if we're looking at the Bitcoin funding rates right now, since yesterday, these funding rates have moved closer towards neutral. But just yesterday and the day before yesterday, these funding rates were sitting extremely negative, basically well below neutral, which is basically an indication telling us that there's a lot of people trying to short the market and not a lot of people trying to long the market, and that usually happens just before a short squeeze. And in case you're new to all of this and you don't know what a short squeeze is, just quickly explaining what that is. Basically, it's essentially the market forcing a lot of short positions to either get liquidated or close their positions. And basically, when you close a short position, you're essentially having to buy back into Bitcoin or whatever you're shorting in order to cover that position. And so basically, when there's a short squeeze on the Bitcoin short positions, for example, that means a lot of short positions are essentially getting wrecked, which basically means it's pushing the price of Bitcoin further to the upside with short positions closing and buying back into Bitcoin. And so once again, over the last one day, that's potentially what we saw, which is something that I've been talking about over the last few days once again. And we could potentially continue to see that play out, especially if we start seeing a strong breakout above around 65 to 66,000. And if we're taking a look at Ethereum on the weekly time frame, obviously we're seeing a further bounce exactly from that level of support that I've been talking about over and over again here on the channel, which is sitting at around 2.9k. And so not much has changed on this chart over the last one day. So getting straight into the short term, looking at the 8-hour time frame. And also this bullish divergence here in the short term is still playing out as expected. As I talked about in my last video, this bullish divergence is already confirmed. So like I said yesterday, this means we're most likely going to see either a bullish relief or at the very least some choppy sideways price action as the most likely outcomes over the next few days. And as for support and resistance, we just bounced exactly from this area of support again, which is sitting in between around 28.50 to 29.50. So like I've been saying here on the channel over and over again, there's a lot of demand in that price range, which we just saw as expected. And as for short-term resistance, we still have resistance in between around 3.2k to 32.50, and above that we have more resistance in between 34.70 to 35.30. Above that we have significant resistance at around 36.50, more resistance in between around 37.50 to 3.8k, and more resistance in between around 4,000 to 4.1k. And so obviously there's still a lot of obstacles ahead of us before we start heading up towards this local high again. So those are the levels to pay attention to moving forward. And something similar can be said for Solana on the 8-hour time frame as well. We're still playing out this bullish divergence as expected, because once again, as I've been saying over the last couple of days, we have a bullish divergence with lower lows in the price in the candle closes and higher lows in the RSI, meaning we should not really be expecting a lot of bearish momentum in the imminent short term here. And instead, we're most likely going to see either a bullish relief or at the very least a sideways consolidation over the next few days, which so far has been playing out exactly as expected, and I continue to expect this bullish divergence to continue to play out over the next couple of days at least. And as for short-term support and resistance, we have support in this range, which we have just bounced from over the last few days, sitting in between around 120 to 127 approximately. And as for short-term resistance, we have resistance in between 150 to 155 and more resistance in between 167 to 172. And if you want to trade these moves in the price of any crypto, once again, check out those links down below this video if you want to claim those extra bonuses. And if you want to actually know how to trade crypto, no matter if the price is bullish, bearish, or chopping around sideways, then make sure to watch these videos popping up right here on your screen. The video in the top left shows you how you can profit from bullish or bearish price action using long positions or short positions, and the video in the bottom left shows you how you can easily profit from choppy sideways price action. But anyway, that is everything that I have to say for today. I really hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you all in the next video.